GM CEO Mary Barra just issued a brutal warning to all the dealers. Dealers will not sell EVs anymore. GM is dying and is set to lose $1 billion this year. While Mary Barra is taking home a salary of $29 million, GM is playing a dirty game that just got exposed. GM is sick of dealers charging thousands of dollars on their EV. The once lauded electric vision of GM is now a graveyard of nearly 92,000 unsold EVs, gathering dust in dealer lots across the country. Why are GM dealers killing their own company? Did GM close its doors? And what exactly is Mary Barra's scary warning to dealers? Here's exactly what happened. In a move that left everyone dumbfounded, Mary Barra slammed the brakes on EV production, admitting defeat in the face of a market that simply isn't buying what GM's been desperately trying to sell. She issued a warning to all the dealers saying, "Stop selling EVs with huge markups, else you will have no cars to sell forever." But don't let Mary Barra fool you just yet. GM is secretly in favor of dealer markup. GM is now slapping something called ADM, or additional dealer markup, on all their vehicles. But this isn't where the problem lies. Earlier, GM on its website would clearly differentiate between the manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP, and any additional dealer markup. This transparency was key. But hold on, because here's where it gets shady. Now GM seems to be hiding the ADM on their website. That's right. The once itemized and clear distinction between MSRP and ADM is no longer seen. Let me paint a clear picture with two examples straight from GMC's website. Vehicle 1 shows a jump from MSRP to net price with dealer fees, with no breakdown on the ADM. This blurring of lines is a stark departure from GM's previous stance of transparency. On the other hand, Vehicle 2 follows the old protocol, with clear delineation of the dealer markup. The contrast between these two examples is not just confusing, but also points to a possible endorsement of hidden ADMs by GM. What does this mean for the average buyer? Confusion, frustration, and a sense of betrayal. When a giant like GM starts aiding dealers and masking additional costs, it's not just about the extra dollar. It's a dent in the trust that millions have placed in a brand they believe stood for fairness and transparency. Smash that like button if you agree with me. Even Elon Musk lost $41 billion in just 2 weeks due to the upcoming EV market crash. But more on that later. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, has already raised concerns over deceptive ADM prices. They're pushing for language that would bolster consumer protection against such practices. But GM's recent approach raises questions. Are they really in favor of consumer rights, or are they playing both sides? Most recently, the company also refused to showcase its 2023 profit outlook due to the ongoing UAW strike. Due to these strikes, GM has been losing nearly $200 million every week. They've shut down GM's Arlington, Texas factory, the birthplace of the highly profitable Cadillac Escalade, Chevrolet Suburban, and other large SUVs. This strategic move by UAW President Shawn Fain is putting immense pressure on GM. CEO Mary Barra is walking a tightrope. On one hand, she's juggling the demands of a workforce clamoring for their fair share, underscored by Fain's assertive stance. On the other, she's navigating a delicate financial landscape where profits must be prioritized over ambitious sales targets, particularly in the electric vehicle or EV sector. And just when all of this is going down and the entire company is in financial ruin, guess what CEO Mary Barra does? She took a salary of $29 million, nearly 10 times more than Ford's CEO. And wait till I tell you how she justifies that. You'll be shocked for sure. Picture this: Mary Barra, the boss of GM, pulling in an eye-watering $29 million a year. Meanwhile, 13,000 workers are out on the streets striking for better pay and benefit. They're not asking for the moon, just a fair shake in the profits they help generate. The United Auto Worker, or UAW union, representing these workers, is pushing for a 36% boost in pay. That's a big jump, especially when you consider they've only seen a 6% increase in the last 4 years. So how does Barra justify her salary? In her words, 92% of her pay is tied in GM's performance. Her argument? When the company does well, everyone benefits. But is the company doing well? A big no. And to add to an already massive list list of problems, GM is now unable to sell EVs. In the second quarter of 2023, GM had managed to sell just 15,652 electric vehicles. That's a 24% drop from the 20,670 sold in Q1. Now, compare that to Tesla, who sold a colossal 466,140 EVs in the same period, dwarfing GM's figure. GM's total vehicle sales stood at 691,978, meaning EVs were a mere 2.3% of the total, lagging behind the national EV market share of over 7%. These figures aren't just disappointing, they're downright alarming for a company of GM's stature. GM isn't alone in this downturn. Volkswagen's cutting EV production due to strong customer reluctance, despite a surge in June EV sales in Europe. And Toyota? They're barely in the EV race, with less than 8,000 sold in the first half of 2023. It seems the big names in traditional auto are struggling to keep up with the EV revolution, spearheaded by the likes of Tesla and BYD. GM also permanently stopped the production of the Volt EV, their best-selling car. The pattern continued with the Chevy Spark EV, the Cadillac ELR, and the Chevy Bolt, all gone. Even in November 2023, their EV numbers are shockingly low. The Hummer V and Cadillac Lyriq are seeing some demand, but actual deliveries tell a different story. Only a handful of these models are reaching customers. But don't think that Tesla is spared from the EV sales crash either. Musk lost $41 billion in just a span of 13 days due to the upcoming crash. On October 30th, Musk's net worth plummeted by $7 billion in a matter of hours, as Tesla shares dropped from $207 to $197. This steep fall is part of a broader, blood-curdling trend that started on October 17th, following Musk's announcement of disappointing Q3 earnings and a bleak outlook. Since then, Tesla shares have fallen by 23%, evaporating $189 billion in market capitalization. The reason? Poor demand for EV. We also had the announcement from Panasonic, Tesla's largest battery supplier, that it's lowering production due to a fall in EV demand. Another reason might be the market's reevaluation of Tesla, no longer seeing it as the high-margin tech phenomenon Musk had long promoted, but rather as a traditional car manufacturer with much slimmer profit. Tesla's operating margins, excluding environmental credits, shrank to a mere 5.3% from last year's 16.1%. On the other side, Ford is also grappling with massive losses in its EV segment, amounting to $1.3 billion in Q3 alone. The automaker is now delaying $12 billion in EV investments, with CFO John Lawler hinting at a possible reduction in future commitments to EV. But one thing is not changing despite everything: massive dealer markups that are absolutely killing the middle class. The road to EV adoption in the United States is fraught with obstacles, notably the inadequate infrastructure for vehicle charging and the steep price tags of EVs compared to their gas-powered counterparts. A report from Cars Direct unveiled that Chevrolet dealers, upon receiving the new Chevrolet Blazer EV, has been stacking their own markups on the manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP. Dealers across the nation, from Wisconsin to California, have been found adding a staggering $10,000 markup on the $60,215 MSRP of a mid-trim Blazer EV-RS. This price strategy creates an unfair playing field against competitors like Tesla's Model Y, which starts at a much lower $38,990 before federal tax incentives. The Blazer EV isn't the only GM vehicle to fall victim to exorbitant dealer markups. The colossal GMC Hummer EV has faced markups up to $50,000 above its six-figure MSRP, despite GM's discouragement of such practices. Contrasting GM's strategy, Ford and Hyundai are taking steps to align their pricing more closely with Tesla's. Ford is offering up to $7,500 in incentives on the F-150 Lightning electric pickup, while Hyundai has reduced lease prices on the Iconic 5 crossover and Iconic 6, following Tesla's price cut. GM's flawed execution of this EV rollout is further highlighted by its decision to delay production of the Silverado EV and GMC Sierra EV until 2025. A Virginia-based dealership, Coons Tyson Chevy Buick GMC, justifies the $5,000 markup on Chevy Bolt EVs, including the EUV, by citing market demand. GM called out dealers for absurd markups on the 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06, Steve Carlisle, GM's president for North America, warned dealers that such practices must cease, or they risk losing their Z06 allotment. Dealers have been employing tactics like charging more than the $1,000 reservation fee, selling directly to brokers, and adding market adjustments over the MSRP, which tarnishes GM's reputation and consumer trust. As dealers engage in these practices, the broader implications for the middle class are clear. The dream of owning an EV is becoming increasingly distant for many, as the additional costs associated with these markups push EVs beyond affordability. If GM does not fix the internal issues in their leadership and within their dealers, they will definitely keep seeing big losses. Do you think dealer markups are justified? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel.